my name is Kat and I am a teaching artist here at the Edna Arts, and I'm going to cover a drawing lesson that will be provided to you all. So when you see in your kit, you will see your pencil, eraser, and your blender. So let's get started. All right, so what we are going to be creating is a drawing that is going to be a very realistic balancing like rocks formation that you're really just going to be creating by yourself. You don't need to have any rock references. You can just really use this from your own imagination, or you could use some reference photos if you'd like. Okay, so let's get started. Now first we're going to make the most heavy rock. So in our imagination, you're going to create some type of like boulder or however large the rock is to you. And I'm really just creating very simple lines and creating some type of structure that is going to be the foundation for my balancing rocks. So this rock is going to be visually more heavy than the rest, and it's going to be a lot larger and more, big overall. So go ahead and just create some shape, some line, and maybe when you're creating your largest rock, maybe it's a little bit more smooth, maybe it's more bumpy at the end. So really just find the flow of the line with your rock and just go with it. So I've kind of redrew the shape of the rock and kind of all brought it all together. So first I have my main rock. It's very heavy in my visual reality, and then I'm going to keep stacking my rocks on top of each other. So now I'm going to create my second rock. Now your balancing rocks, they might be different shapes, different sizes, and you might have different amounts of rocks on top of each other. They don't necessarily have to be like the 6 behind me. You can do 3, you can do 4, you can do 2 if you wanted, but I would recommend at least maybe 3 or 4, whatever you want within your page. So again, I'm just really creating random, like large rocky shapes. I'm not thinking too much about, the exact lines of my rocks. I'm really just thinking about, okay, if I had to create a rock, what would it look like? So maybe your rocks are a little bit more round, maybe they're a little bit more flat, maybe they're more jagged. So think about those lines and how you can create them. Now I'm going to make a larger rock on top, and in my world, I think gravity will still allow for this larger rock to be on top. So it might not make perfect sense, but that's okay. It's your own imagination, and you are creating your own balance in your own mind. So cool. I've already created like 5 different rocks that are all stacking on top of each other, and they kind of have almost like a pattern going on. I have like one really large, second one is very like long and smooth almost, the third one is a little bit more blocky, and then they kind of had a visual like pattern going up. But you can create any rocks. You can create more circular ones, more square cube shaped rocks. Really, as long as you create whatever shape that makes sense in your head for the rocks, go ahead and just make it. Okay, great. So now that you have created your maybe 3 to 5 or 6 rocks stacked on top of each other, as long as you get the general outline, you want to just keep it very simple, and then slowly we'll add more detail as we reach to the top of our balancing rocks. So I'm going to actually start again with like the bottom rock. When I'm creating my details of my rock, I'm going to think about maybe the like edges and like all the little contours of the rocks and all the little facets that each rock might have. So I'm just going to create lines maybe going in horizontal ways that, maybe the rock's going more upwards, maybe there's some slopes downward, maybe there's like a few like jagged areas, maybe there's some cracks within the rocks. What's great about these rock drawings is that there's really no wrong way to create it because rocks are so different that even if you were to make it wrong, it's okay because yeah, rocks will never look the same. So yeah, you can really just play around with the line, and maybe you want your rock to be more smooth, so if you want to create more smooth lines, that's totally okay. But I'm just really trying to create some like facets and some lines just to give my rock more like edges and areas and crevices. So after I've made some type of like sloped areas within my rocks, I'm gonna just find an area in which I can start shading. So I'm just gonna find maybe a crevice in my mine and just start shading in. And what I'm doing is that I'm applying pressure to my pencil. So when I create really dark areas, I'm creating really dark values. And this will make the idea that rocks have texture, they have value, you know, they have like their own personality, their own identity. Again, rocks, there's no like wrong or right rock in this world. They are so different. So really just play around with your line techniques and your shading. So I'm really just applying pressure to my pencil, and I'm just going over some areas. So I'm really just stacking up my lines and just shading in very carelessly too. Your rocks don't have to be super smooth again, or they can be depending on you. But I'm gonna have this rock like super jagged, so my line techniques are gonna be a little bit more harsh, and they're gonna be very like, very expressionful. They're gonna have a lot of expression, but yeah, I'm just gonna start layering, and I can show you also right now like what some hatching techniques look like. So what hatching is when you have lines going in one direction. So I'm gonna show you this hatching right here. So I'm having my lines going up and down, and I'm just going, you know, all across. And then when I cross over, it's gonna create some values once I cross over. So then you'll have like a grid marking. So that's what hatching is. And then you also have, yeah, when you have the hatching on top of each other, that's called cross hatching. And you're really just creating like your own values as you do these line techniques. So hatching is when it's like singular marks next to each other. And then cross hatching is when it's completely across, and it creates like a grid and little squares. So that's the difference of like hatching and cross hatching. And you could just, you know, play around with like these line techniques. Again, like I'm really not thinking too much about my lines. I'm really just having fun. I'm playing around. Again, rocks, there is no wrong or right. You know, these rocks don't have to be of this reality. They could just be very, you know, very imaginative. So this is some cross hatching that I'm doing, and I might go back and forth from adding darks and lights and hatching and cross hatching. So you can really like interplay and layer all of these, you know, techniques together. And maybe I might go more smooth, and then maybe I'm just gonna slowly just start shading. Again, I'm applying a lot of pressure to my pencil, and then I'm getting a lot lighter if I don't want too much value. So when I want a lot of value and a lot of darkness, I'm gonna apply a lot of pressure, and then I'm gonna get super lighter. So yeah, I'm just really trying to create my rock to be very just have different like drawing areas. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep working, and yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. What's nice about this like drawing is that it's very like high contrast, and what high contrast means is that when you have like very dark and very light, areas. So it's like stark contrast. So when you think about like a photograph, when it's like a black and white photograph and there's like high exposure, there's gonna be like a lot of contrast when there's like black and white elements. So as you can see from like the drawing behind me, I have most of my rocks are pretty much on the gray side, but there's, you know, one rock that's like really bold and really dramatic and dark. So you can kind of select which rocks are going to be the most dramatic for you if you want. I might add a lot of value for like the large one, and then slowly I can get from like darkest to lightest for my rocks. Or if you want to play around, you have like a dark one on top, you know, middle value in the middle, or light value at the bottom. You don't have to do, you know, from dark to light for the rocks, but however you want to do it. I did it in like so many different values. I had lights, I had some darks, and then I had like a really dark one up at the top. But yeah, I'm just really playing around with this drawing, and I'm just sketching in so many different like directions. So just have fun with the pencil, and you know, be free, and you know, be very expressive when you're creating your hatching. You can go really harsh, you can go really light. Okay, so as you're drawing, you're probably realizing like which, you know, lines I make, which areas should I have from dark to light. This drawing, it's very intuitive. So if you think about like balancing rocks, like if you want to think about that within yourself and trying to create like some balance in your life, and really just find this, you know, process and this art making as a very like, you know, free, therapeutic way. There's really, again, no right or wrong to create this, and you're really just allowing your pencil to just be as free as possible, letting it move the way you want it to move. So if you want to be more, you know, sketchy with it, if you want to be more lighter, if you want to get all of your frustrations out on the pencil, you know, go for it. This is a very like intuitive way of drawing without thinking about realism, thinking about these associations with art. So just, you know, let it go.